Suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 23rd, 2020 revised order prohibiting assemblage of more than 10 people. This meeting will be conducted via remote participation. In-person attendance by members of the public is prohibited, but all effort will be made to permit public attendance of this meeting in the manner specified below via remote access by internet, telephone, and via public broadcast of the meeting by Malden Access Cable Television on public access television channels. Public access will also be provided by posting draft minutes and/or transcript, recording, or record of the meeting on the City of Malden website at cityofmalden.org as soon as practicable after the meeting. This evening's agenda has a call to order, approval of minutes, public comment, superintendent's reports, subcommittee reports and discussions, motions and resolutions, personal privilege, executive session, and adjournment. So if there are no questions, what we'll do first is we'll pledge allegiance to our flag. We'll then have a moment of silence for our veterans. We'll then call the roll and get into this evening's agenda.
Do you have members of the public on that?
Okay, so let's pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance
to
the flag
the
of
flag
the United States of
of the
America,
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of all those who have fought for our country and continue to do so.
Marge.
All right, so thank you. And now let's have our clerk call the roll.
Mayor Christensen,
Here.
Mr. Drummy,
Here.
Mr. Froyo,
He's muted.
okay. Mr. Gray,
Here.
Mr. Iovino,
Yeah.
Ms. Luong,
Here.
Mr. McCarthy,
Here.
Ms. Pedafora,
Here.
Mr. Weldy,
Here.
Superintendent O'Terry.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum sufficient to conduct business. Now let's get into this evening's agenda. First up, approval of minutes. Regular session minutes of June 22nd, 2020.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Iovino, seconded by Mr. Froyo. Any discussion? Chair hears none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. Executive session minutes of June 22nd, 2020.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Luong. Any questions about those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody here opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. Special session minutes of August 6th, 2020.
Motion.
Motion.
Mr. Iovino, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions on those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Those minutes carry unanimously. And finally, executive session minutes of August 6, 2020.
Motion. Motion.
Motion by Ms. Luong, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Weldy. Any questions on those? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. All right, we're now down to item number 2, public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to address the school committee. We ask that you state your name and address for the record and keep your remarks to just a couple of minutes. So with that being said, public comment is now open. Mr. Weldy will help us administer this part of our agenda, and our clerk has notified us that we did not receive any emails or phone calls for tonight's public comment session. All right, Mr. Weldy, who do we have first?
So nobody yet. Anybody who's interested, just click the raise hand feature. I can promote you to panelist or type your name and address in the Q&A,
Mr. Weldy or not?
or not, if no one has any.
Public comment is now open.
Seeing none.
All right, we're going to close that portion of our meeting and now continue on with the superintendent's report. Let's go to our superintendent, John O'Teary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, school committee. Good evening, Malden Public School families. Our first item on my report is in your packet, you received a draft policy from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. They released a policy on face coverings. It was written using the guidance of the state and the Center for Disease Control, and is intended to provide districts with a model for requiring face coverings during the COVID-19 pandemic. The policy will be applicable when we do return in a hybrid or in-person model, and bring it to the attention of the school committee subcommittee for review and approval. And of course, we will be vigilant with mask coverings, mask and face coverings, as we are right now during the summer with our staff wearing them. And we want to have something out there for our students, and MASC has drafted this, and it's my recommendation to pass this on.
All right, keep going, Superintendent. We'll take up that after your report.
Okay, sure. School reopening plans. Just wanted to bring everybody up to speed, following up the information presented at the August 6th meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for their work and efforts, all 31 members of our reentry task force especially. I want to thank the families who were able to participate in the 3 community listening sessions that were held July 28th, 9th, and 31st, as well as the 3,615 participants who took over the survey that we had out there. We had over 500 participants in the combined 3 listening sessions. I felt very much the support of our families during this. I thought it was an unprecedented turnout and an unprecedented showing of support and trust as we are marshaling the district through this pandemic. As we've stated before, there's no playbook for this, but I think that our parents and guardians have really stepped up and shown their level of care and commitment. I believe that they embraced our overarching goal, primary goal, which is safety. We will be beginning the school year 2020-2021 year remotely, as the school committee voted on August 6th. On Friday, August 14th, we submitted our detailed plan to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, outlining our commitment to remote learning, as well as the 2 other plans in anticipation of pivoting to a hybrid and then ultimately into an in-person learning model. The teachers that will be starting on Monday, August 31st, with 10 days of professional development. Just as a reminder for our staff, there's no school on September 4th, that Friday, and we are closed on Monday, September 7th for an observance of Labor Day. School for pre-K and grades 1 through 12 will officially start on September 16th. We sent out the survey form to our special education parents. We've received over 90 responses, and we will begin calling those families that have not responded about these are the students that are in the substantially sub-separate programs to assess whether they will send their children back to school for this fall. We want to make sure that every family will be contacted that did not fill out this survey. We sent out a family support survey last Tuesday. That is still live. It is live until Wednesday, the 26th at 5 p.m. We invite all families to take this survey to gather information to help us better support families in the upcoming school year. It is available in 7 languages plus English. Those languages are Spanish, Portuguese, Haitian Creole, Chinese, Vietnamese, Arabic, and Amharic. The survey is very important as we encourage the families to take it. It'll remain open, as I stated, through Wednesday at 5 p.m. The survey link is available on our website at www.maldenps.org/reopening. We are planning to do some training opportunities for our families to support them in remote learning this fall. We'll communicate this to our community when we have these solidified and up and running. In our grants area, our Technology Essentials grant came through, and as I announced to the school committee last week, Malden Public Schools has been awarded a Remote Learning Technology Essentials grant of $490,981. The purpose of the Remote Learning Technologies Essential Grant is to support the district and the school's efforts to ensure that every student has adequate technology to use for remote learning purposes for this upcoming school year. I'd like to thank Assistant Superintendent Dr. Kelly Chase, our business manager, Ms. Tony Mertz, and our instructional technology director, Natalia Brennan, for their hard work on this grant. This grant will help us immensely as we head into the new school year on the remote learning mode. I will provide the school committee with more information on how we'll be using this grant at our next meeting. Chromebook and hotspot distribution. Chromebooks were gathered and will be refurbished in the next few weeks. We're awaiting a delivery of over 4,000 Chromebooks that will to be delivered from our vendor, CDW, which will ensure that every student in Malden will have a device. This is, as we know, absolutely critical in remote learning. We will notify families when our Chromebooks will be available for distribution. And of course, we will distribute them in as safe a manner as possible. We will work with our Board of Health, Chris Webb, the Director of the Board of Health, on the most safe way to get these devices into families' hands. We've been really fortunate in our previous distributions that we worked very well in keeping those safety guidelines front and center, and we continue to do that. There are several new updates on software to the district to streamline family access to educational apps. We've set up a portal that centralizes most of our learning applications. It is called Clever. It's a free resource to schools. About 60% of the students in the United States use Clever. Clever syncs all of the eligible learning applications for a school district and allows a student to use one username and password to access a majority of the learning applications that are available. Instead of logging into IXL with one username and password and then iReady with another username and password and then again to BrainPop, Clever syncs these using the student's Google account, and then it automatically logs them into all of these applications. So this is a major time saver and streamlines this. Additionally, there are teacher pages that can be customized with links for the apps and for students. I just took a training with Ms. Brennan on Friday morning, a very brief overview of this, but we'll be doing more of this once we get back into with our educators and students. We've also applied for a number of other grants, such as the Community Eligibility Program, and waiting a word on these decisions. We also reapplied for our Educator Diversification Grant, which we've participated in the last couple of years. Professional development, Dr. Chase and the directors have been working hard at providing training this summer and for the upcoming school year. We're working on potentially providing some of these topics as our training over the next couple of weeks. So safety training on COVID-19 related topics. We're looking for training opportunities, working with the Malden Education Association on a number of safety related trainings for this upcoming school year. Safety protocols and precautions within the classroom that could include cleaning and disinfecting of the workplace, hand washing, masks, PPE usage, hallway safety and fire drill training, PPE disposal, how to put them on, take them off properly, what to do in certain situations. We're working at developing these, ensuring that our staff is well aware of the social distancing and things that we do take for granted, such as hand washing and the importance of that. We're also looking at ways in which we can help our students and staff manage the stress and anxiety. We also hope to be training staff on the signs and symptoms of trauma. We're exploring some training and adjusting to the back to school from a social emotional lens, which will focus on lessons around the first couple weeks of school, just being back in school, welcoming, providing a welcoming classroom, some games that we can help provide that will ease some fears and anxiety as our students return from what will be a 6-month break from school. We're hoping that the staff could be trained on what to expect, setting individual growth goals in both math and ELA, flexible grouping without grouping, as well as curriculum planning adjustments for virtual learning and the hybrid models. There will also be professional learning communities, collaboration, and expectations. Curriculum work for many teachers have engaged during the past few weeks is coming to a close. From scopes and sequences to units and resources, directors are ready to start reviewing and compiling all the work into a central online curriculum hub that educators will be able to access throughout the school year. Excuse me. Better lesson sessions. Many of our educators started the Better Lesson sessions on August 17th. Better Lesson is an organization that provides professional development to educators. While this has been a crazy and disappointing year, one of the positives that has emerged is the energy and enthusiasm that our educators have shown to learn new things that will ultimately benefit Malden students. We thank them for their willingness to adapt and embrace a growth mindset and take on new challenges. This is actually a nice way to model for our students and show them that learning never ends. We're lifelong learners, as we say in education. We will be looking at the feedback generated and using it to inform our next steps. Salem State Collaborative, we're pleased to bring back our membership of the Salem State Collaborative. It's a premium membership that educators can sign up for on a first come, first served basis for 2-hour, 5-hour, and 10-hour workshops for free. They range from content area to technology sessions. 15-hour workshops cost only $25, which is greatly discounted as a result of our membership. The district does not cover this fee. This is on the educators themselves, but it's incredibly reasonable. These sessions are not eligible for salary credit, but may be used towards PDPs for recertification. New teacher orientation begins tomorrow, August 25th. It will not be in person as we've had the last several years at Anthony's, obviously, with the restrictions going on with COVID-19. We usually have the school committee there. The mayor will be delivering his remarks on behalf of the school committee. The CARES Act, Dr. Chase attended a recent webinar on the CARES Act and we submitted our application. The money under law has a variety of uses. With business manager Tony Mertz and the rest of the cabinet, we will be preparing the distribution of this. We're targeting the purchases we have noted in the past for PPE, masks, sanitation equipment, thermometers, and other necessary PPE, as well as purchasing additional Chromebooks and technology. Also under the law, a certain percentage of our CARES money that's distributed to Malden, our 2 private schools, Malden Catholic and Cheverus, are both eligible for this. Not taking a break during the summer, the school committee, as you are well aware, will just inform the public, underwent anti-racism and anti-bias training 2 days in August, 2 evenings, August 5th and August 12th, with Mr. Manuel Fernandez. He is a principal of a middle school in Cambridge and a highly acclaimed trainer in anti-bias. The focus of the training for our school committee was on the topic of what it means to be a leader for equity in a multicultural and multiracial community, which certainly Malden is. I can say I've participated in these trainings with our school committee. I think I have an incredibly richer and deeper understanding of our committee and a greater respect for them. Mr. Fernandez was most impressed. I think our committee, just to say, and I know the mayor had echoed this, this was an incredibly enlightening and informative session. And I want to thank the school committee for this. I think it shows a major commitment beyond embracing, as I've said, just the diversity, but also the hard work and difficult conversations that come with being a leader for equity in a multicultural and multiracial school district such as Malden. We don't get much more diverse anywhere in this country than we are here in Malden. And in order to really guide Malden and look at it through an equitable lens, this training was incredibly helpful. And also hats off to Mr. Fernandez, who did just a phenomenal job. Malden High School graduation was held on Monday, August 3rd at McDonald Stadium. Over 444 students received their diploma from Malden High School. This was a greatly modified event, and as a result of what the restrictions are. I want to have a big thanks to high school principal Chris Mastrangelo, also to Chris Webb, our Board of Health Director. The two of them, along with Maria Louise and the Mayor's office, worked incredibly hard to bring this to fruition. Also, big thanks to his house principals and the entire administrative team. Joe Levine, the Recreation Director down at McDonald Stadium, was incredibly helpful during this time as well. The Mayor and the Mayor's office have been in total support of this from the beginning. Our Athletic Director, Charlie Conifrey, was integral as well as the Malden Police Department. Big thanks to our central office staff who did everything from paying the bills to making sure that we had additional masks on site and hand sanitizer, our custodians, and also the incomparable Judy Sullivan and Barbara Schiavelli for making this happen. It was a night to celebrate the class of 2020, who, in a major understatement, have endured a most unusual and unfortunate senior year. I'd also like to single out Todd Cole and Erin Mazur O'Brien for their incredible music accompaniment. Todd Cole's, I think, version of the national anthem was very powerful and very moving. And Erin on the flute was beautiful. It was a perfect complement to a very beautiful evening down at McDonald Stadium. We have news on our AP exams. We had 82% of our AP students opt in to take their at-home exam, which was terrific. So we had 302 students taking 553 exams. The great news on this is 72% of our students received a qualifying score of 3 or more. That's an 18% increase in the qualifying scores from last year and a 22% increase from 2018 and a 27% increase from 2017. So we are definitely going in the right direction with our AP exams. I think this is a real tip of the cap to the great work that's happening in our curriculum department, in our high school with Chris Mastrangelo as house principals, directors, and our teachers in the classroom are just, they're nailing it. This is terrific. We also have more students taking this. So this is not, we're not culling. We're not taking the best of the best to do this. We're encouraging so many of our students to do this. And Malden is a leader in Massachusetts with this. And we're showing that this is what potential is. This is not tracking kids. This is pushing kids and getting them out of their comfort zone and saying, you can do this. These are often kids that don't have that confidence in themselves, and they are not only doing it, they're succeeding. So this is firsthand proof that you can do it. And we're really happy about that. PSATs, our guidance director spoke with Jenny Caccavalli at the College Board. Typically, we administer the PSATs, which is the practice SAT. We've had a number of families that have started to inquire about that. Typically, we do that the Wednesday after the holiday in October for 10th and 11th graders. College Board is looking to move a potential PSAT opportunity into the middle of the winter. They'll send out more information on that when we have that. We will communicate more on our SATs and PSATs in the upcoming weeks. Also a message from Erin Craven, our outstanding guidance director. Most colleges and universities are not requiring SATs for the high school class of 2021. So just, everybody, take a little deep breath. I think that safety is going to triumph over this. As the parent of someone who's a high school senior, I think it's a time for you to just relax and not worry about the SATs. There's enough worry and anxiety out there. We don't want our students having extra stress on that, or parents, because I think a lot of that is, our parents are concerned that this is a way that some of our kids excel. And I think a lot of our kids will benefit from not taking this. So I think this is good news. The Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program. Over 30 students participated, 30 MSYEP participants out of 100 attended a statewide virtual showcase to display their work, which they've done this summer. Malden presented 2 of their many projects. We were impressed by the staff and the youth who came together in these 5 weeks and produced tremendous amounts of work. We'd like to emphasize that the staff of the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program have gone above and beyond our wildest expectations. A big thanks to Kelly Collum and Karen Hayes. And I'd like to thank the following. We have teacher leaders. That would be Marcus Barbagallo, Jennifer Hedrington, LSA Pompoulos, and Jim Valenti. We had instructors of Gachina Latang, Tamara Louise, Tamara Lee Rock. We had job coaches of Deb Bonapang, Edwidge Jean Baptiste, Kim Smith. We had staff trainers of Jamie Cochran, Andrew Louise, Marsha Louise, Sarah Schneider. In payroll, we had Debbie Camerata and Omar Ortiz. In human resources, Jerry Chabelli. A sample of the work projects that were done were gardening from home, growing vegetables and herbs, learning nutritional values, making dishes and recipes from what they grew, and learning the plant cycles. In health and wellness, posters that will be printed and available for all school personnel and city staff to, quote, order, which they are free. Full websites designed by our youth with daily challenges, resources and journals, blogs, and videos. Art in the classroom, posters that will again be printed and made available to all city employees, personnel for free, featuring art on Black Lives Matter, cultural identity, welcome messages, and flags in multiple languages. Art that reminds people to take care of themselves in multiple languages and multiple cultural perspectives, websites, and more. There was podcasting, students podcasts on a wide variety of topics. They did work on media, full documentary and an hour-long on essential workers in the time of COVID-19, multiple interviews, and much more. In culinary, students who graduated from a fully online culinary class passed their ServSafe certifications. Classes taken and passed by our youth in early EEC, Introduction to Healthcare, website design, virtual marketing, psychological first aid. And then big congratulations to 8 of our youth who won the scholarship contest developed, run, and scored by the Commonwealth competition. We had silver prize winners. That was $250. Sean Castrucci, Elizabeth Eshetu, Miriam Hakawi, Julie Huynh, Tam Fan, and Alina Yang. The honorable mention, they received $50 gift cards were Emily Wang and Yuxian Zheng. So again, big congratulations. I also like to thank the mayor. He was unwavering in his support of that program this summer, and it really, with seeing this, they adapted to the virtual program and crushed it as they usually do in person. So thank you very much. We have an update on athletics, and at this time, I'd like to welcome our athletic director, Mr. Charlie Conifrey, to speak about the upcoming sports season. I think he wants to do this as much as informational because there's been, in our world of social media, there's a lot of misinformation that's flying around out there, and people are anxious and excited to hear about this. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Conifrey.
Thank you, Superintendent Oteri, and good evening, Mr. Mayor and respective school committee members. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity tonight to inform the Malden community, parents, and student athletes on what has transpired over the last 3 to 4 months as it relates specifically to interscholastic high school athletics. As you can imagine, you've been as busy as anyone. We've had numerous Zoom and virtual meetings at the state level with the MIA Board of Directors and their COVID-19 task force, as well as collaborating with the Sports Medicine Committee of the MIAA. Also, numerous meetings with our Greater Boston League member school principals, athletic directors, and most importantly, especially in this situation, our athletic trainers in Malden and across the league. From the onset, our number one priority has been and will always be the health and safety of our student athletes, and including in that is the social emotional well-being of our student athletes. Not only their health and safety, but their families' health and safety, and our staff, our coaches' health and safety, and their families. Recently, the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, in conjunction with the Department of Ed, released their guidance as it relates to interscholastic sports. And from the onset, the MIAA board and executive staff had said that they will take and follow all EEA and DESE guidance, which led to our last meeting, which was last week. The COVID-19 task force from the MIA proposed 12 things as it directly relates to interscholastic sports at the high school level. And I make that point, and I've said it several times about the high school level. As guidance has been released over the last few months from the state, it has been youth sports and adult amateur sport guidance. Just recently, as of last week, the guidance for high school athletics, it's different in many ways. The 12 proposals were set forth. The fall season was voted on to start on September 18th. We voted to accept all sports medicine recommendations because they relate specifically to the health and safety of our student athletes. What's different this year, one of the many things that are different this year, we've added another season. So there's typically a fall, winter, and spring season. This year, we've added a alternate fall season. The regular fall season starts September 18th and runs through November 20th. The winter season will be November 30th through February 21st. And that new fall 2 season will run from February 22nd through April 25th. And then the spring season will run April 26th through July 3rd. It's important to note also that football, which is a high-risk sport, along with competitive cheer and unified basketball, which are all normally fall sports, have by state regulation been automatically put into that fall 2 season. So you won't see football, competitive cheer, or unified basketball until that fall 2 season, which starts late February and runs through late April. It's important to note too for the community that there's flexibility within these dates. I think the MIA, in conjunction with the state, tried to provide as much flexibility for schools and across the state, because as you're well aware, there's differences across the state, put it that way. There's 377 member schools of the MIAA, and we all deal with something a little bit different. Urban and suburban schools and school communities are dealing with different things as we ramp up and get closer to the school year. The most important piece that I'd like to touch upon is the state guidance that was just released from the EEA and Department of Ed in conjunction was following the EEA, is the color-coded map and designation as it relates to COVID infection. It has a direct impact on schools, specifically schools like ours, urban schools. Within our league, Everett and Revere are designated as red. Chelsea is designated as red, who is independent as athletics goes, but have already been welcomed into the Greater Boston League and voted in as of next school year, 2021. The guidance or mandate from the state was that any school district that is red, that is designated as red must move all of their fall sports to fall 2. So in conjunction, or to try to remain unified and stand in solidarity with our league partners, we're looking to move all of our fall sports into the fall 2 season as well. So that would include boys, girls soccer, girls volleyball, field hockey, and boys and girls cross country. And they would play in that fall 2 season. Tomorrow at noon, we're meeting city mayors, superintendents, principals, athletic directors are meeting to discuss next steps as it relates to moving forward as a league. And in the meantime, another piece of the guidance that was released is that if, going back to the map, if you're unshaded, yellow, or green, you must get school committee approval to participate in either competitive sports, or if you want to offer practice or workouts for your student athletes, if allowed so. So part of the reason here tonight is asking for approval, and we could possibly discuss afterwards what that would look like. That would be after the start of the school year. First and foremost, our main objective obviously is to start the school year. And personally, I don't feel comfortable or agree with offering athletics or extracurricular activities prior to starting school, or feel comfortable doing it with us being in a fully remote setting. That is one of the things that we share across the league. All of our school districts are starting fully remote. So what that would look like, we're looking for ways to still reach out and be in connection with our student athletes, coaches and student athletes in a different way. I think one of the main things that our community and other communities as we go into the school year needs to recognize is that this is not going to be like any athletic year that we've ever experienced before. And I know you can relate to that, as school is going to be very different and it's not going to be the same as we've ever seen it before. So we're looking at different ways to engage our student athletes this fall, and as a league move our competitive MIA sanctioned sports to the fall too. Also, it's important to note that we're not the only school communities that are in this situation or looking to do this same thing. The league that we were in, the Northeastern Conference, which is made up of 12 schools, half of their league is made up of urban schools like ours as well. You have Salem, you have Lynn Classical, Lynn English, Saugus, and Winthrop, who are now all in red designations as it relates to that map. Some regional schools and vocational schools are facing the same mandate. The Northeast Voc and in Wakefield, they go by the Revere's data, city data. So therefore they're in red. They will be forced to move all of their sports to the fall, alternate fall 2 season. Greater Lawrence Tech, Lawrence, Kip Academy, to give you an example of where we're not on an island here. Basically, we're in a situation because of geography, basically, where there's this core group of schools that will be doing things differently than 90 or 95% of the state. Most of the state, I would imagine, will try to put out some sort of athletic season this fall, minus football, obviously, and competitive cheer and unified basketball, but that will be under strict modifications. Those sport modifications will be coming out shortly. Actually, I think they were due this afternoon for review by BMIA executive staff and sports medicine committee. So what that means is boys and girls soccer is not going to look like the boys and girls soccer that you're used to seeing. They'll have modifications that will change the game dramatically. Girls volleyball will be facing the same thing. The moderate risk sports will have modifications in order for them to be played. There's transportation things to keep in mind, that we're limited on transportation, which has a direct impact on our budget. All of these things have come into play over the last few months as we've discussed this and the possibility. I see it as an opportunity. I see it as a good thing. I see it as a way for us as a school, as a league, to come together and develop plans, procedures, safety protocols for the day-to-day operations of an athletic department. There's a litany of things that aren't in place yet that need to be before we were even to think about putting anybody on a field or a court. So that is, I think I touched upon everything. I think that's the nuts and bolts of where we're at currently, what we're facing for our immediate future. You know, and the winter season's not guaranteed. Obviously, you know this, the situation that we're in changes on a day-to-day basis. We're hoping that it changes for the better, right? Trying to remain positive and that we can provide as many opportunities for our students and hopefully keep it as it used to be, even as recent as this past February, when we competed in our last competition in winter sports. So it's been a while. You know, we're trying to be creative as possible, put it that way. Either from meeting virtually with student athletes, doing things collectively, league-wide, from strength and conditioning to educational athletics as it relates to social emotional well-being and understanding the sports that a student athlete participates in. So with that being said, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we stop here and we'll take some questions and potentially a motion at the end of the discussion. We're going to first go to Mr. Gray, and he'll be followed by Mr. McCarthy. Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Charlie. Just a quick clarification. Just so I understand, or all of us understand, you're seeking authorization from the school committee to be able to do something whenever the CDC and State Board of Health and whoever gives authorization to do something for the fall sports program. Is that kind of where it's going?
Yep, that's very, very close. So the part of the guidance that was set out from the EEA and the Department of Ed was that regardless of where you're at as far as a designation, everything goes back to that colored map. If you are unshaded, green, or yellow, you still need school committee approval to participate. And if you decide to compete within your league, or if you decide to push your sports to fall two and just want to participate in smaller activities, such as, you know, you could possibly have scrimmages, you can do practices, you know, sports specific practices under the EEA guidelines, strength and conditioning workouts, those sorts of things. So you're almost there, almost perfect. Yep.
Thank you, Charlie. That's it. That's all I need to ask. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Next up, Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Charlie, thank you so much for being here. The one question that I actually do have, I've been looking at this athletics timetable for all the different seasons that are going to be coming up. So the second fall season, is it safe to say that a lot of the schedules are going to be reduced, or are they going to be participating at the same capacity related to because of COVID? are they going to be doing a full seasons? Or are they going to be kind of reduced down a little bit for schedules for the different sports?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I thought I touched upon that, but I must have skipped it on my note. One of the votes that we had as a board was strict and relates specifically to who you're playing and how long you're playing for. If you noticed, if you look at the 4 seasons, 3 of them are identical. One's a little bit longer than the other, and that is for specific flexibility reasons, to be able to shift and move either a week ahead or a week prior. With that being said, it was voted to play league only or very local teams. For example, if we were to play Melrose, bordering towns, something along those lines, to try to limit the amount of transportation that you have to do. With that being said, most likely you will not see full schedules. If we want to use fall as an example, you're not going to see a full fall football season. You'll probably see 5 or 6 games, league only, without a state championship, no fall tournament. You'll probably see league championships or possibly a regional championship if your district allows for it. I would say the main piece that I really like about all of this is that all of these decisions, the flexibility decisions, asking, can I do this, can I do that, doesn't have to go beyond the district. So there are 9 districts across the state. We are in District 5. I'm the chairperson for District 5. That is 4 leagues. That is the Greater Boston League, the Commonwealth Athletic Conference, the Northeastern Conference, and the Cape Ann League. So schools will have proposals. Schools will, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I scrimmage? Can I move all of my sports to fall 2 because, you know, my league partners are in red and we want to stay unified, which I'm gladly seeing that leagues are looking to stay unified and move, you know, and some don't agree with, you know, some are fully remote just like us. Like Squamscott, for example, they're fully remote and they don't want to put competitive athletics out there while they're in a fully remote setting. If you're going to take like a town or a city that's, you know, kind of polar opposite from us demographic wise, we think alike. We're thinking along the same lines that health and safety is the #1 here. I'm a competitor. I mean, I want to be out there as much as anybody, but not at the risk of someone getting sick or their family member getting sick. So when we do this, we do it right when we're ready to do it.
All right, you all set, Mr. McCarthy?
No, I actually have one more question. So has the MIA give any sort of guidance on, say, for example, a team has like an outbreak? Do they give any guidance on like possibly doing temperature checks, having tests done before seasons begin? Could you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I would say that's my biggest concern. My concern is the day-to-day protocols, day-to-day procedures that I think should take place. Pre-screening and tracing. Some sort of pre-screening, either you use a cell phone app or you use simple question and answer and document it. And it needs to be shared. It needs to be shared with your league partners. That's why we've, as a league, have been in contact since day one. Making sure that we're on the same page when it comes to all of this. The Sports Medicine Committee, to answer your question specifically, yes, the Sports Medicine Committee is tasked with that, with those daily procedures and protocols that should be taking place. The example that you gave, I'll answer for you. So let's say, for example, a team A goes and plays soccer at team B. The kid 2 days later gets tested and tests positive for COVID. What then needs to happen, if they did it properly and they traced and, they pre-screened and they traced, they can trace it back, and those two teams have to shut down, and anyone who's in contact with them either has to quarantine for 14 days or come back with a negative test. The flexibility that was given with the MIA and the schedules was that, let's say, for example, those two teams that shut down, and they only got through 3 or 4 of their games. They have the opportunity to move those sports into that wedge fall 2 season, so their kids aren't missing out. Nothing was worse than canceling the spring season. It was awful. It was an awful feeling for everyone involved, and I would never want to. I never want to be a senior in that situation. And that was one of the main goals of all of the work that took place over the summer, was that we need to figure out ways that we're not canceling anything. We may be moving, we may be shifting. It may look a little different, but we're going to provide an experience for our student athletes in some way, shape, or form at some point during the year.
All right, Mr. McCarthy, thank you. Next up will be Mr. Weldy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. McCarthy sort of covered one of my questions, but I guess to elaborate on it, because that was a good one. You sort of started talking about the pre-screening protocols that could take place with teams.
Yep.
Would that be something that we would, as a district, like you as the leader of the department, like would we set that up, or is that coming to us from MIAA?
Nope, that wouldn't come from the MIA. That would go to you. And I'll be completely honest, that's my main concern, is that we have something in place, and it doesn't have to be elaborate, but something that we're able to use on a day-to-day basis. Some other school districts that have researched are using simple cell phone apps. Simple cell phone apps to do, coaches taking, going through the 8 to 10 questions, how you feel. They have the name, the date, and everything is tracked, and they can go back. They have the data to be able to trace it back. So that would be something that we would ask, Mr. Oteri and you school committee advice on what to do. I'd like to use the same thing. It's funny, Adam, you work in Chelsea, and Chelsea felt really bad about, like, well, we're independent. We're not really in the greater Boston. I go, well, you are now, because you're on an island by yourself. So you either come and join us as at least scheduling partners and be in all the conversations with us, or it's going to be really hard for you. So, we opened the door to Chelsea right away. They're 5 DP partners. We're doing some collaborative work on PE and professional development moving forward. So, going back to the health and safety piece, is that nothing will be out there. No student will be put in harm's way until we have all our ducks in a row.
That's awesome. So I guess maybe through you to the superintendent, let's just keep that on the radar, so that way we can keep allow Charlie to keep moving as forward as he wants to. The only other question I had, and this is a super hypothetical, Charlie, so I was just curious, because we're lucky that we're well represented having you on the leadership of MIAA. Mm-hmm. So if things don't get better, we hope that they get better, but if things don't get better and we find ourselves in a position where the winter season is something that might not end up happening, has the discussion been that we would continue to sort of push it down so that we don't lose, do you know what I mean? Because we're like kind of moving the fall sports so that they get to happen, but is the discussion that we kind of just keep pushing it down the line, or?
It would be, yeah. So the 4-season model allows for flexibility in dates starting and ending. Obviously, you're not gonna go past July 3rd. July 3rd is even kind of pushing it. Maybe June 30th. However, those starting and ending dates of like fall 2 could start a little later if winter had to be shut down for a couple weeks, or if it was feasible, we could simply move a sport or 2 sports into that fall 2 area. Or there's lots of leeway, put it that way. So for example, like golf, for example, it's going to be difficult to play golf in March. There's not too many places open. So we're asking the district athletic committee, basically I'm writing a proposal to myself and my colleagues to possibly move golf into the spring season. It's also important to note that it was voted that a student athlete can participate in all four seasons. So you can see student athletes, I don't know, it's kind of cool. You know, student athletes have the opportunity to play 4 sports instead of 3. Lots of leeway, lots of flexibility, and it only goes to the district level. All that the MIA asks is that, you know, they want what's best for your district, your region, your league, and that they stay apprised of what you're doing. And as you know, as long as it's not egregious, you know, those types of things. So those scenarios are there, and you know, we're, like you said, hoping for the best, but preparing for and having contingency plans for those types of things.
Well, thank you for all the work you're doing, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Waldai. Next up will be Ms. Luong.
Hello. Well, first, thank you for everything. You're always right on top of it, Charlie, and we all appreciate it. I have a question, just a small one. So typically before a season starts and before the coaches, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, are allowed to actually hold a practice, the team themselves usually get together and have captain practices. So how is that? How are we going to handle that going forward? Is that going to be allowed? And if it's going to be allowed, how are we going to do the testing, and how can we weave that in? And do the kids know that, no, you're not supposed to be having captain practices right now? And maybe they don't realize it. So
yeah, to answer your questions, one, captain's practices aren't promoted or sponsored by our school, nor are they sponsored by the MIA. Messaging is continuously out there to our student athletes and our coaches that if student athletes want to get together, then they get together on their own, and they do so on their own without the guidance or under the guise of our school department or athletic department. One vote that was added as well to that litany of proposals was the out of coaching season rule was waived basically for this school year, which allows for coaches from all seasons to have contact with student athletes if allowed by school district, school committee, principal, that sort of thing, so they can have contact with their student athletes for social emotional well-being and those types of things. I can tell you with certainty that nothing will transpire under our athletic department until we are 100% secure in all of our procedures. Working directly with our trainer, Jen Sturdivant, who's recognized as a leader in the state and recognized as one of the top in her field nationwide. I defer all medical related things to her, and we're in good company within the league. Michelle Kelly, who's the 8th athletic trainer over in Somerville, is one of the members of the sports medicine committee at the MIA. So she is apprised of and developing the procedures and protocols for us as we move forward. So I would say, Michelle, we're in good hands. It's you know, inches rather than, or a marathon rather than a sprint, so to speak. And I know kids, believe me, I know the kids are raring to go, and I empathize with them, I really do. But we need to make sure that everything is put in place before we do any of that sort of stuff.
thank you. You know, and I couldn't agree with you, no, but you know, kids will be just that. And I know captain's practices are not authorized, not run through the schools, but on the other hand, it's been a practice through the years. And so that was why bringing it up to say kids will be kids, but on the other hand, can we just say to them, no, you can't do it. It's not allowed. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm trying to, you know, that's all I was trying to say. Like,
I think the coaches, our coaches for the most part, are really good with that. They'll always ask before they do. And And I would say it's very good because a lot of them are teachers within the district. So they understand. They understand the enormous thing that we're facing right now. And they want to make sure that they're doing the right thing as well.
All right, any other
Thank you.
questions?
No,
Ms. Spatafora, Mr. McCarthy, you have another one?
I just got one more, yeah.
We go to Ms. Spatafora and then over to you, okay? And then we'll try to get back to our, the superintendent's report. Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I will keep this really, really brief. Mr. Confrey, do you foresee decline in like participation because of the pandemic? Do you foresee, you know, students actually not wanting to participate out of caution? Maybe, you know, families are not quite comfortable. And with that being said, do you foresee us not having specific sports being played because of that?
That's a good question. That's a question that would keep me up at night for sure. I think we were trending prior to this pandemic. We were definitely trending upwards with the addition of 6 to 7 middle school sports and making the connections at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level, and offering 25 plus sports on both sides, boys and girls. With that being said, it's a concern. Absolutely. I think kids more so than their parents are raring to go. But the final say definitely comes to the parent and caregiver, hence the enormous steps that we're taking to ensure as much as we possibly can the health and safety of their babies, of the student athletes. That's definitely part of the reason why I wanted to come on tonight. So, you know, whoever is listening, that they know that, you know, it's not about winning. It's about making student connections again. It's about building those relationships between coach and student athlete to student athlete that we can hopefully make happen again like it used to happen prior to the pandemic. But I would say, yeah, I don't know, you probably have to cut my arm off to get rid of a sport. So I would literally do anything to make sure that we can, you know, move forward with everything possible. Maybe you might see less levels of a sport just because of what we can oversee safely. For example, maybe, you know, a varsity and junior varsity in a sport and not all 3 levels of a 9th grade and a junior varsity and varsity for this year alone. Maybe. We talked about that across the league, that, you know, we're still holding out hope that we can have our middle schoolers doing something, that we can have, you know, but it's, once again, it's the oversight, what we can actually do safely within each thing, and across the league, pooling resources as much as possible and just really thinking outside the box so we can make sure that we can have competitive experiences this year for our kids.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Spatafora. Mr. McCarthy.
My question was already answered, never mind.
Anybody else? If I might, just from the chair, Mr. Conifrey, on behalf of the school committee, it's worth repeating that we want to say thank you for all your time and effort. I know I've talked to you several times over the summer, and I've just been so impressed and appreciative that you have hung in there. This is one that if you had said, we're going to cancel the fall season, I don't think anybody would not have understood why. But the fact that you hung in there for our student athletes and our families in the district, we do want to say thank you. But now it comes with a condition that you know you have to beat Medford. So that's a requirement of whatever plan we're going to sign off on here.
We will do our best.
All right, so there you have it, everyone. So Mr. Conifrey, through the superintendent's looking for a motion from us. What say you?
Motion.
All right, Mr. Drummy, what is your motion?
I make the motion to let Charlie have his season, more or less. Why not? He seems to have put the effort and the time into it, so I think he deserves it.
All right, seconded by Mr. Iovino. So is everybody clear on the motion and what we're doing here?
Yep.
All right, let's see, no further hands. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. Okay, Mr. Conifrey?
Sounds good. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Keep up the work. Back to our
Thanks,
superintendent
Charlie.
report.
Thank you, and if I just might echo the mayor's praise of Mr. Conifrey. He's been steadfast in his commitment to our student athletes. He knows how important it is to the social emotional health of our students and our school. I also would like to say, I think that our commitment to work in partnership with our GBL colleagues who have the misfortune of being in the red, as it is, I think truly demonstrates the spirit, which unfortunately does not necessarily carry across the rest of the state, that we are all in this together. There's nothing that separates Malden from Revere or Everett. You know, it's the same street, and I think that we show that we're all on that, and we want to continue to work with our partners because we are all in this together. And I think that Charlie has been with that from the beginning. It's a very collegial group in the GBL. We've been in it together at the GBL as we've sort of been a bit nomadic over the last 4 or 5 years. I remember when we moved into the Northeastern Conference, we had high hopes, and that obviously fizzled with what I would call blatant mistreatment and systemic problems in dealing with diversity. How about that for a way to phrase that? And I think that we're seeing the way in which many people operate where, well, I have it and you don't, that's too bad. And, you know, we easily could have done that, but that's not the way we are here in Malden. I think Charlie's emblematic of that and that spirit of working together and collaboratively with our partners because, you know, we could be in that same misfortune through no fault of our own too. And we would like to be treated the same way. So hats off to Charlie and Chris Mastrangelo for really guiding us through this. They've had constant meetings throughout this whole pandemic. So thank you.
All right, back to the superintendent. We were at retirements, I believe, right?
Yes, so Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, Michael Wood's last day was Friday, August 14th. We wish Michael all the best in his next step of his journey in the educational world as he leaves Malden. He was a valued and trusted member of the cabinet during his time here. I'm also going to take this opportunity publicly tonight to thank Mr. Peter Dolan, our ELC principal, who will be retiring on August 31st. Pete was not only the ELC principal, but was also our safety director for the Malden Public Schools. Prior to that, he worked at the Linden School as an assistant principal. Although we miss him terribly, we wish him well in his retirement. I know he's going to work on his golf game a lot and spend a lot of time with his family where he's been kept away over the last several years. And life of principal takes on more of your time. Publicly, I'd like to say, Peter, if you ever change your mind, we will always be here and there'll always be a place for you at Malden Public Schools, and it's not too late. So we have also begun interviewing for that position as well as the assistant superintendent position. Ms. Maura Johnson, who is our former assistant superintendent for student services and special education in Malden, and Ms. Debbie Cannell, former special education director in Somerville and current director in Nahant, have been our consultants during this interim period. We also keep the community informed of this process. I believe that we will be doing final interviews this week and hope to have a decision sometime next week. We have a new hire in our admin team. That would be Miss Lisa Kingsley, the new program manager for Pathways here at Malden High School. She comes to us from the Curtis Tufts School in Medford. She has an extensive background in special education, administration, as well as alternative education. She has a strong background in curriculum and instruction. We're excited to bring her on. She began her first day of work officially today. We've also begun to hire and replace staff who have resigned and retired. Our human resource director, Ms. Ashley Saffett. Again, we are committed to hiring a faculty that more closely resembles our student body. We're progressing well in this area. Interviews are often teller interviews or conference calls via Zoom or Google Meet, but we are moving forward. We will keep the committee updated as we finalize our process for hiring. And then just moving forward, I'd like to take this time and opportunity to inform the Malden Public Schools parents and guardians that we will be working closely with you as we continue to educate your children remotely this year. I'm fully aware that there's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty and even fear as we go through this stage. We are here for you. There is no playbook. We're going through this together, and we will be working and partnering with you throughout this whole time. I can tell you that we know that our teaching will be better than what we had in the spring. Frankly, I think we've heard the term that was kind of crisis learning. Part of it was because we were in a stop and start mode with the state. We were hoping to go back. Now this will be, more thoughtful and more planned, and I will guarantee you that our families will have a much more enriching experience, especially as we get all the technology out there for our students. We hope that we will be able to bring in our highest need students during this remote learning, with the goal that we'll be able to bring in a hybrid model at some point during the school year if our health conditions warrant. And then ultimately, where we all want to be is fully back in person. However, we have to focus on the situation that we have now, and that is using the safety of our remote learning environment. Our staff is excited to start this school year. They can't wait to meet their students and partner with our families to guide our students to reach their potential. This will be something that we are looking to support our students and families in a holistic sense this year. It's uncharted territory for us, for the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the school committee, student administrations, principals, teachers, and staff, right to the newest incoming student. We are all in this together. We are all trying to do our best in these difficult circumstances, and we are 100% committed to helping our students and families. If you ever feel hesitant, please reach out to us. Don't hesitate to reach out to our staff. They're a tremendous support. In other words, you're not alone, and we've got you. Thank you, and this concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Superintendent. I think the first thing, I'm going to look to my right. Mr. Weldy, how do you want to handle this face coverings policy? Do you want to have that referred to policy? Do you have any questions on it?
Sure. I mean, if it's, why don't we make a motion to refer it to policy? We'll have a policy meeting between now and the next school committee meeting, and that way we can bring it to the floor. The only thing I already noticed looking at the state's policy, that it says it's optional for grades 1 and down, and I know that's something that we didn't necessarily agree with in our working group. So we'll play with it, and we'll do it quick and turn it around for the next meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Weldy, what I'd suggest too, and I know you've done a good job over the summer here, that one you might want to have some public input on, some family input on, particularly like you said, there's some options around what grades, and I think it could be a good move to hear what the people have to say about it. So,
Absolutely.
so there's a motion by Mr. Weldy. Is there a second to refer to policy? Ms. Spatafora has seconded the motion. So everybody should be prepared, right, Mr. Weldy, to come back in. When's our next meeting? Is it October or September? I always forget. I forget if the August one counts as September, but either way, our next meeting, we should be prepared to vote on that, correct, Mr.
Yes.
Weldy? Would be your intent. All right, so there you have it, everybody. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to that? All right, we'll wait for the policy subcommittee's recommendation on the face coverings policy. Now, any other questions about the superintendent's report? Any questions? Let's go to Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Superintendent. So I'll keep it really brief so we can keep moving on. You touched upon Chromebooks. Is there an ETA on when those will be, the ones that we purchased, when those will be coming in?
The latest communication we had was early September.
Okay, so it looks like we're on track, before the start of.
As of now, we are. That's correct. Yep, we keep, Natalia keeps pestering our representative from our company because we're hearing, I think there was a report out there this morning that there's over 5 or 6 million computers from various manufacturers that are now much delayed, but our order was processed, I think, at the end of July, so we're ahead of that. I know in talking with other districts, we're a little bit of a delayed start to this, so we hope to be in that first wave, and all indications are that we will be.
Great. And then lastly, only because you didn't touch upon it, so maybe you can just give the community a gentle reminder when it comes to breakfast and lunch while we're in remote. I think that would be a good, just days, locations. We're still providing breakfast and lunch, correct?
Yes, I missed a little. I have to admit that internet connection here tonight is not particularly good. Some people are jarbled, but it's better than what I have at home because I'm without power still. So we'll still be providing breakfast and lunch, I believe, through September 11th at this point. We will keep the community posted as to where and how the breakfast and lunch will be distributed beginning on September 14th. But our intent is to continue to provide that maybe at more locations. We're still working out that, and we're waiting to hear back from the state on our CEP eligibility as well. So these will all be good things for us. We're optimistic. I think we're also waiting to hear on a couple other things that we applied for, and hopefully we'll be able to secure. So we don't want any family to worry about food security from the breakfast and lunch program at all.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, other questions? Ms. Luong?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Superintendent, I was hoping you could just give us a brief update on the special ed audit. And I know we were a little bit delayed just giving everything that we've had to do. So where would we be going forward with the audit? If you could just explain where we are, that would be great.
Sure. I've been working with Maura Johnson, and I've got a couple calls out. We're waiting to hear back. Obviously, it's a little difficult to do in remote, is what some of the vendors are telling us. But we will be looking and meeting with you and updating you on that. And hopefully we'll have something in the very near future. But we're also looking at maybe doing it at a strategic time where we could get more benefit from this in terms of potentially with the onboarding of our new assistant superintendent and getting their input and guidance on that as well.
So I just have one more small question, then we can move forward. So the idea was for the audit was to make sure we're be able to fill in the gaps in the coming fall timeframe for some families that didn't receive services or didn't receive them in a timely manner. What's the plan for those students that actually didn't receive all of their services in the spring? What do you have a plan that's going to reflect how they can be best served in the fall?
Sure. So what I think we put out in our listening forums that we will be contacting all of our special ed parents in the early fall when we get it back and make sure that we can provide what we can provide in the remote model.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Luong. Anybody else on the superintendent's report? If I might, just quickly from the chair, under item number 2, school reopening plans, paragraph 3, all those moving dates, superintendent, let's just make sure we're communicating those clearly.
Sure.
To the district. There's a lot going on in terms of when we're off, when we're on, when things are starting, what grade. So
yes, we will.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And if I can, Mr. Weldai's great idea that I think he would admit he got from the teachers. Is there any possibility of the teachers having the opportunity to meet the students in a socially distant manner, or is that not happening?
I think we're actually currently negotiating that, so I don't know if unless Mr. Weldai has another way to communicate that.
Well, as we are not currently in a closed negotiations, I feel comfortable enough saying that the proposal was not initially not acceptable to the MEA, but I think we're still looking for, we're trying to find some compromise with the intent that every student gets to meet their teacher prior to the September 16th date to start school. But I think it's something that in some fashion we're still going to push forward with.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
All right. So let's get back to the agenda. And next up, we will now go to subcommittee reports. Let's hear from Mr. Iovino on where we are with enrollment. Any questions? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Iovino. Next up, item number 5, motions and resolutions. This is a resolution that I believe the entire school committee has signed on to, and it's being led by Mr. Weldy. It's COVID-19 testing availability. So let's have Mr. Weldy explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I do want to mention for the folks listening at home that Mayor Christensen is correct, that the whole school committee did sign on, even if we weren't able to get everyone's names on the agenda in time. It is co-sponsored by all of us. I won't read the whole thing, but ultimately we sponsored a resolution a month or so ago pushing for the state to fully fund any COVID-related expenses in a similar vein. And it's something that we've seen loud and clear throughout the negotiations process. And really, despite that, or aside from that, just because it's a smart public safety move, it's a resolution pushing the state, particularly Governor Baker and Secretary Pizer. The text reads, "Be it resolved that the state must provide every school district ongoing, easily accessible, free testing with a quick turnaround operation for our staff and students. We must ensure a statewide school reopening that is safe, responsible, and equitable." And I think the timing of this couldn't be better, being as the governor recently announced the mobile testing unit, which on its face is a great idea, but in practice is not anywhere near as reaching as it could be to actually support the school districts that need it, as you can't really request the mobile testing unit until you've already been put in the middle of a COVID outbreak, so it doesn't really do us much good. So hopefully this gives them a little nudge. And I know that there are already 10 other school committees around the state who have adopted something similar. So we'd be adding to the chorus.
All right, so there's a motion by Mr. Weldy, seconded by Mr. Iovino for purposes of discussion. Any questions on the resolution?
Done.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. Next up, we have personal privilege. We will then entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of collective bargaining. We may come back out into regular session to act on some of those items, and then we will move adjournment. So any points of personal privilege first? Ms. Luong.
I just wanted to take a moment just to thank the John O'Terry and Lenny Iovino and Adam Weldy and the entire team that worked tirelessly all summer to really put this plan together to the best of their abilities and in the best interest of our students. I just wanted to however this all works out, I just wanted to say thank you for all of your efforts.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Luong. Anybody else? Mr. Iovino. All right. Thank you, Mr. Iovino. And I know Mr. Weldy probably wants to add Ms. Mertz onto that list, right?
Oh, yeah.
Take it away, Mr. Weldy.
Well, besides adding Ms. Mertz onto the list, I think that, and Lenny said it really well, it hasn't felt like we've had much of a summer. But I think to add to what's already been said, I really want to say thank you to the community, in particular the parents, who have shown a tremendous amount of grace to each other and to us throughout the entire process, because no one's ever going to really be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And there's definitely been some fluctuation points, right? People are angry. They want to know their kid's teacher. They want to know this date, that date, and we get it. We are right there with you. But this is just, I mean, we've never seen anything like this before. And I think these types of things have tremendous potential for people to react negatively towards each other. And that hasn't happened here. And I think that's important that, we remember that we are all aiming for the same goal: the teachers, the parents, the school committee, the community. And there's just been a tremendous amount of grace shown through, I think, a really difficult time. And we so truly do appreciate your partnership before and ongoing as we enter this new process. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well said, Mr. Walde. I think we end it there. What do you think, everybody? All right. Yeah, let's entertain a motion. So a motion by Mr. Iovino to go into executive session for the purposes of collective bargaining. I think it's been seconded by Ms. Spatafora. Ms. Spatafora, you had your hand up.
I did, but that's okay. I'll second, we can end.
No, let's keep it going. Lane, let's your motion. Let's hear from Ms. Spatafora, personal privilege. Take it away.
So, and I'm going to keep it very brief. So I just want to remind folks as we enter the school year remotely, this means that our amazing PTOs are going to have a difficult time when it comes to our fundraising efforts because our schools are going to be closed. That means book fairs aren't going to be happening or school dances. But the one thing that we can count on is our textile bins. So a reminder to the community that those textile bins generate hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for our students. And we welcome all of the donations that are clothing, tablecloths, curtains, but a reminder that they are not to be used for your household trash or whatnot, because the last thing we want to do is lose that great revenue generator for our schools. So as you're cleaning out the closets, which I know many of us have been doing because we've had nothing else to do, just remember that that money goes to our students. So when we do get back into the classroom, we're able to maybe start doing stuff and getting, you know, that money out to the students and making sure that they're able to jump right back into the fun stuff that the PTO provides for us. And lastly, only because I have an 11-year-old in the background, it's his birthday today, so I promised I'd wish him a happy birthday online. So happy birthday, Angelo.
All right, very good. Very good.
Happy birthday.
All right, so I don't see any other hands. Mr. Iovino had a motion. Was it seconded by?
I'll second.
Let's have the clerk call the roll.
Mr. Drummy,
Yes.
Mr. Froyo. Okay. Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Iovino, Ms. Luong,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora,
Yes.
Mr. Walde,
Yes.
Mayor Christensen.
Yes. So that carries unanimously. Now, hold on, everyone. Mr. Walde, our instructions.
So you got the two links today. The second link is the executive session link. So you're going to want to, at the bottom right, click end and then leave the meeting. And then you can use the second link that you got to re-enter that meeting. And there was a password in the email for you to do so. And we'll troubleshoot if you don't get it.
Now, Mr. Walde, to come back, what happens?
Just we'll end that meeting and re-enter this one.
All right, very good. All right, everybody, executive session.
See you soon.
I like the halo, Joe.
I'm innocent. Don't blame me.
Okay, it looks good.
Just dandruff.
John, here comes Gary. I feel you, Michelle.
All right, we all set?
No.
I'm missing Lenny.
Fine.
And
John.
John,
John.
Want to check in on them?
oh, just lost the soup. Back.
Hey, Lenny, did you Adam, Lenny can't get on.
Did he? Oh, I got John. All right. He didn't. Did he use the link? The one that I emailed him earlier today.
It says, please wait, the meeting host will let you in soon.
No, he re-clicked the one that we. He just re-clicked the one we left.
Executive session. You re-clicked the executive session. Do the original one.
Or just tell him to scroll up a little bit.
All right. Okay, he's gonna try it.
Whew.
Jen, you make me yawn.
Oh my gosh, and it's too late for me to make a coffee. I'm ready for bed.
Oh, please, I have another conversation to have with my daughter over at college and how devastated she is to be away from home. She's only in Quincy, so.
Each day will get easier.
It will, it will.
Lost Lenny.
We just lost John
Froyo or Oteri?
Froyo.
Oh, Lord.
I've lost you much of the night because of the freezing, but
Okay, I just sent it to them again. I don't know. I remember coming to these meetings as the student representative back when I sat next to the guy from Ward 1. And we were lucky if these meetings ended before what, 11:30?
Yeah, true, true.
Oh God. I don't even know how that happened. Like what on earth did we talk about till 11:30?
It just became
Very
more
fair.
efficient.
Any word, anyone?
I'm trying Lenny again. He just sent you a new link. He sent you a new one. All right. God, he's obstinate. I think John Furrier went to bed.
Adam, you're muted. Oh, he's on.
Uh,
John's not answering, Adam. I tried, he's not answering.
All right, we're moving on, everyone. So let's, we're back from executive session. Now entertain any motions of the membership.
I wrote this there. You're muted, Adam.
I'm on the phone with both Lenny and John. Here, John, I'm gonna keep you on. Hold on. Lenny?
It will not let me in. It says enter your email and name. My name is here. I entered my email. It says join webinar. I hit that, nothing happened.
So Lenny, I've got you on the phone. I can keep you on speaker. Do you want to make your,
Fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
So I think, Mr. Chair, if I'm correct, we're on the school attendance officer.
Yes.
All right, Lenny, do you want to make your motion?
Certainly. I'd like to, my motion is to reinstate John Pasolin as school attendance officer for the coming school year with a review in May of 2021 to perhaps restructure the position. That's my motion.
Just Mr. Weldy to Mr. Iovino, I'm not sure reinstating is the right word. Isn't it reappointing or? Yeah, reappointing. Mr. Iovino, it should be reappointing.
I alter my motion to use the word reappoint.
All right, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummy,
Yes.
Mr. Froyo is muted.
Yes.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Iovino,
Yes.
Ms. Luong,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Pedafora,
Yes.
Mr. Weldy,
Yes.
Mayor Christensen.
Yes, that carries unanimously. Any other business before the body?
I'll make a motion to approve the 4% increase for the assistant superintendent and business manager for the last fiscal year, in line with the increases we gave the principals.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
I second.
Seconded by Ms. Spatafora. So, Mr. Weldyke, just a little bit of context here. So this is in line with what we've done with our other administrators.
Yep, and already budgeted for, and already in line with all of our other units, Unit A, B, C, and principals have received their percent increases. These are some of the last folks, the non-union folks who have not.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
And it is retro to,
July
need-
1/19.
okay. Mr. Drummy,
Yes.
Mr. Froyo,
Yes.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Iovino,
Yes.
Ms. Luong,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora,
Yes.
Mr. Weldy,
Yes.
Mayor Christensen.
Yes. Any other business before the committee?
Adjourn?
Motion by Ms. Spatafora to adjourn.
Second.
We get a report of the, should we get a report of the savings from the lights in City Hall that must be a decent amount.
Next meeting, Adam. So seconded by Ms. Luong. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? School committee is hereby adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Adam, thank you.
Anytime, Len. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Stay safe.